Hello and welcome. Today we've got Brent Johnson, and today we are going to be discussing the government, the tyrannical government. We're going to be discussing whether America is a democracy or it's a republic. What happened to innocent until proven guilty? Free speech or misinformation? Which one is more important? And also, we need to start rewarding people on being more integrity, having integrity, and more kindness. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Instagram channel at nicholas.veniamin, where you can follow all my daily news reels. Brent Johnson, thank you so much for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to, sir?
I'm doing fine. It's great to be back with you, Nicholas. I truly enjoy the times that we spend on the air getting seeds out to people through which they can grow. Uh, you know, it's kind of sad on one end, but I'm doing quite well. The reason I'm doing quite well is there's so much more um, grief, so much more anguish, so much more violations of rights happening. And when that happens, people contact me. So I end up getting a lot of activity and a lot of, people looking for what do I do in the midst of this insanity? And that's really what's going on. We are living in a world of insanity. It really is an insane asylum. And, all that we can do is keep putting out the message that it doesn't have to be that way. And there are ways to shift your perspective and pursue your freedoms.
Which is very important. So let's talk about the tyrannical government here. You know, they're very very political. They no longer work for we the people, and there's people that work in the government and they haven't been elected, and they're able to have a very big influence on how the world should be run. So why don't we go into that part and about the UN?
Well, okay, let's start with what you just asked, because my favorite American founding father is Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine wrote a brilliant essay in the 18th century called Common Sense. You can still get it. It's absolutely brilliant. And in it, he wrote of government, any government, that government at its very best is a necessary evil. Now, most people take that to mean that government is necessary. When I read that, when I speak it, it is a reminder that government is fundamentally evil.
Mhm.
Government is not your friend. Ronald Reagan once said that the most terrifying words you can ever hear is, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you. And the truth is that government is fundamentally evil. Now, because of that, I don't trust government. I don't approve of government. I'm not anti government. I just think government needs to be kept in its proper place. And that place is best defined, in my opinion, in the American Declaration of Independence. And what it says in there, right after the words life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it says to secure these rights, governments are instituted. In other words, the functional, proper purpose of government, any government, is to secure the free exercise of your rights to life, liberty, and property with which you were endowed by your creator, not your government. So the government doesn't give you your rights. The government can never take away your rights. People say they're taking my freedom. They're not taking your freedom. What they are doing is violating your rights. And
Mhm.
whenever your rights are violated, there's a quiet, a silent question being asked. What are you going to do about it? And that's what people need to start answering. The first thing people need to remember is government does not exist to rule over us. And I understand England comes from a history of royalty and kings, and the king's word is law. I don't care. I don't care what law, what statement, what argument has been given by government, meaning evil, bureaucrats. Okay. The bottom line is your rights are yours. They are not government. So the government is not here to rule over you. It is not here to tell you what you can and cannot do. We, the people, in any country in the world, are the rulers, and the government is made up of our public servants. Now, different bodies of laws, different constitutions, but that formula is the same anywhere. In China, in England, in America, throughout the European Union, all of it. The government is our servant, and they're pretty bad servants at that. You mentioned the UN. The UN I don't know if they've actually implemented it yet, but they are preparing to. The UN is now talking about their Agenda 2030, and in order to save the world from climate change, which, by the way, the climate has been changing on and off for time immemorial. And somehow we've survived it. But now the UN tells us we're no longer going to survive it unless we allow them to come into our countries and dictate to us how we will live and how we will behave. And it's all for your own good. The truth of the matter is that we, every one of us, are royalty, literally. I don't mean that figuratively. You are endowed by your creator with certain unalienable rights. And just because the American Declaration doesn't mean it doesn't apply in other countries. It applies everywhere. It's a universal principle. And if you did not get created by the government, you didn't get your rights from the government. Now, the creator, God, if you will, is the supreme sovereign of the universe. That means that you are part of the royal family, literally. So you need to start treating yourself, behaving like royalty. You know, every time a government official comes in and says, you can't do this, who are you to tell me? I'm the king. Who are you to tell me? You need to stand in the face of that. You need to push the issue. You need to answer the question. What are you going to do about it? Which, by the way, if you do answer that question, if you say, I'm not going to comply, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do, I'm not going to obey your environmental zones, I'm not going to act in a way that you think is right because I'm the king, I'm the queen of my life. And we've gotten so far away from that. People need to really embrace that. You know, when I say you are sovereign, I mean it literally. More so than King Charles or Queen Elizabeth, bless her heart, you know, or any of them. They're the official royalty. We are the royalty of the planet. And we need to, you know, the reason we have the problems we have today is because the people themselves have been very, very remiss in their duty to keep the government in its place. We haven't done that. We have let them do all this stuff. And look where we are. Look at this world. It's an insane asylum because we've allowed the fundamentally evil government to take control.
No, of course. I want to move on now to, you say that America is not a democracy, it's a republic.
That's actually true. And as a matter of fact, if you ever read the Constitution for the United States of America, it says in there that every state is guaranteed a Republican form of government. That's not a party affiliation. That doesn't mean the Republican Party. That means that a republic. And just, you know, I'll give you a little tidbit. And actually, when we're done, I'll send you this so you can maybe have it and make it available to people. But this comes from the 1928 American Military Training Manual. And it's the last year in which they published this. It used to be in there all the time, but then they took it out. And it's the American Military Training Manual's official definition of democracy and republic. Democracy, a government of the masses Authority derived through mass meeting or any other form of direct expression results in a mobocracy. Attitude toward property is communistic, negating property rights. Attitude toward law is that the will of the majority shall regulate whether it be based upon deliberation or governed by passion, prejudice, and impulse without restraint or regard to consequences. Results in demagogism, license, agitation, discontent, and anarchy. That's democracy. To shorten it up, it's two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. Republic, same military training manual. Authority is derived through the election of public officials best fitted to represent them. Attitude toward property is respect for laws and individual rights and a sensible economic procedure. Attitude toward law is the administration of justice in accord with fixed principles and established evidence with a strict regard to consequences. Avoids the dangerous extreme of either tyranny or mobocracy. Results in statesmanship, liberty, reason, justice, contentment, and progress. And that's a republic. In a democracy, if 50.1% of the people want something, then the rest of the people lose out. That's it. Majority rules. In a republic, every one of us has fundamental creator-endowed rights that can never be taken from them. And no law, no vote, no body of people, elected or appointed, can ever do anything to compromise the fundamental rights of each individual.
I see.
That is a republic.
So let me ask you a question about the republic then. So if there's no vote at all, how do you give rights and freedoms to everybody? How can we agree to a certain rule or something?
Well, republic doesn't mean there's no votes. In the case of America, it was set up, as a republic in which democratic principles were employed. So, for example, how do you select the people who are going to run the government as your servants, not your leaders? How do we do that? We do that through a voting system, a democratic process. But we're not a democracy. For example, you can't get Congress together and say, we've passed legislation that says that murder is legal. They can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
They can't do it. Doesn't matter. It could be a unanimous vote, but there have to be limitations on government. We do not elect them to be our rulers. We do not elect them to be our dictators.
Yeah, they have to listen to us. We are their boss. We pay them. Although I believe the tax things, the tax prices are very expensive, it needs to be readjusted, and that's to pay the government, and the government should be a lot smaller. We pay their salaries, and they should listen to us. They're running the world for us, for we the people.
Well, see, and that's where the question comes in. When your rights are violated, what are you willing to do about it? If you're not willing to do anything, if you're not willing to stand up and take action of some kind, then of course that's what they're going to do. They push the envelope forever and ever, but they pushed it so far that now people have had it. Everyone's got that tolerance line in the sand. I'm willing to take so much. I ain't willing to take no more. And more people are being pushed over their tolerance line in the sand. And when that happens, they push back. They're either going to push back peacefully, or there's going to be a violent, forceful revolution. But one way or another, they will push back. And we can see it today. I mean, it's so obvious today what's going on.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about, because in the UK, you are innocent until proven guilty. But here in the United States, and that's, I say here because I'm in the United States at the moment. You are actually, proven. You have to prove yourself innocent, and you're guilty otherwise. How does
Well,
that work? How does that make any sense?
from a perspective of law, you're innocent till proven guilty. Okay, the American founding fathers were really, really clear. William Blackstone from Blackstone Commentaries, which is one of the foundational legal volumes ever written about American and English law. Blackstone said that better to have 10 guilty people go free than one innocent incarcerated. And Thomas Jefferson echoed that many, many times. That's the system that was created in America. What you have, again, is the evil government is ignoring the fundamental law, is violating it. And what do? They use the idea of popular approval. They go out there and they get people up to say, yeah, this guy's a bad guy. This guy's a terrible guy. We should lock him away forever. And enough people say that, so it's got popular support. And then a lot of people sit there in the peer pressure. Well, everybody says this guy is bad. I better not say anything else because then they won't like me. And if you absolutely knew with every fiber of your being that you are king, you are queen, you are royalty, would you be so quick to allow that kind of mindless peer pressure to influence you?
No, absolutely. I mean, somebody could easily accuse someone else of a crime that they didn't do. Mm-hmm. And then, according to American law, as it stands right now, they're guilty. And how do they expect you to prove yourself innocent if there's no evidence or anything to show?
Well, in the first place, under American law, you're innocent till proven guilty.
Yeah.
What you have is the people who are staffing the judiciary, the government, the Congress, the White House, the people who are doing these things, they are breaking the law. They are the criminals.
Yeah.
But the actual law says that you are innocent till proven guilty, period. We need to assume is innocence. The problem we have is that the evil people, and they're all over the place, that's why I keep using that word, the evil people are, they take the perspective and they train people that way. By the way, the cops in America are all actually trained. Several years ago, they changed the training. The training of police in America used to be done by the states. A couple of decades ago, they changed it and turned it into a federal training. So now everybody, no matter what state you're in, if you're a cop, you are trained that everybody is guilty of something. Therefore, everybody is guilty. And the mindset, these people who have badges and guns and go out there and interact with the population are trained. Everybody you're looking at is guilty of something. So the mindset is that. The mindset needs to be changed back.
Yeah.
That we are innocent until proven guilty. And if that means that some people get away with bad stuff, that's the reality. If you operate that way, some people will get away with stuff. Like I say, 10 people go free rather than one innocent be incarcerated. So that's the reality. People need to look that fate right in the eye and say, I'm okay with that. I would rather have some guilty people get away with it than tons of innocent people be incarcerated. If I have to choose between the two, that would be my choice.
Of course, absolutely. No, me too. I completely agree with you. Now, the other thing I want to speak about, especially now with the Tucker Carlson interview, Vladimir Putin, the European Parliament want to impose sanctions on Tucker Carlson because there's just no free speech. There's no freedom of speech, a journalist, a real journalist, so this is what I stand for, is to be able to interview anybody, left and right, where you can listen to what they have to say. But we know why. We know because they don't like Vladimir Putin. He hasn't accepted the dollar. There's just a lot of corruption. And I want us to talk about the free speech versus misinformation. That's something you want to discuss as well. What's more important?
Well, and that's the question. That's the question. Nobody asked the question. That's the question that needs to be asked. And you see it everywhere. What the EU is trying to do with Putin is just one example of it. The examples are everywhere. A judge told Donald Trump in his own trial that he could not give a closing argument, which is patently unlawful. Okay,
it's a bit like this is dictatorship.
Exactly. And by the way, the judges are trained that in their courtroom they are dictators. That's exactly how they are trained. They are trained. Think of it as taught. That's how they're taught to do their jobs. You are a dictator in your courtroom. And it's not just the EU, it's not just England, it's not just America. Everywhere. It's that, well, people are being hurt because misinformation is coming out on the internet, and we have to do something about it. And the argument is, well, our job is to protect the population, and that is not true. Again, I go back to the American Declaration. To secure these rights, governments are instituted. It doesn't say anywhere there that the purpose of government is to protect the people. As a matter of fact, government is not there to feed you when you're hungry. It's not there to give you health care when you can't afford it. It's not there to educate your children. None of that is the purpose of government. The purpose of government, and the only purpose of government, is to secure the free exercise of your God-given rights. And so when government comes, if I was in the audience and a government official said, well, our job is to protect the people, I would stand up and say, no, it's not. Nobody asked you to protect us. We'll protect ourselves. We'll take care of ourselves. Your job is to preserve our freedom and nothing else. And so that's where it comes in, because the argument is, well, climate change is going to destroy us all, so we have to step in. And that's coming not even out of a government. That's coming out of the unelected UN, the unelected WEF, the unelected WHO. That's where all of that's coming out. So talk about dictators. These people basically have declared themselves, we know more than the rest of you, so we have to do this. By the way, thousands, if not more, of educated climatologists, of scientists, of people who are well studied, including Nobel laureates, Nobel Award winners, have come out and said, this thing about climate change is garbage. It's not true. It's not true. But media doesn't put that out. And governments come out and then say that if you say that, you're guilty of misinformation and you need to be prosecuted. You need to be imprisoned. We're going to take away your liberty because you're not towing the line. You are giving out information that we say is false. I remember a few years ago, the then Prime Minister of New Zealand, who actually promoted a law, that essentially said the same thing, that the government is the only one. This is what she said. The government is the only one authorized to make official statements. You have no right to make an official statement. Only we do.
It's a joke. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they think they're above the law. They think we're above this, we the people. Yet they want to send all of our tax dollars to Ukraine and other countries and protect their borders, while they allow America to be flooded in from the southern border with illegals, rapists, drug dealers. It's absolutely a disgrace.
And by the way, every time these things happen, there's that unspoken message. What are you going to do about it? We need to do something about it. You don't like the taxation? Stop paying it. Stop agreeing to it. Yeah. Is it going to become an issue? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. They'll escalate it. Will you escalate it? No, but everyone, we don't want confrontation. We want to be at peace. I want to be at peace. I'm a very, very peaceful, pacifistic person. But what are you willing to do to preserve your freedom? If it requires you to stand up and fight, will you fight?
I think it would be great if we created a movement to stop paying taxes. We really need to look at something serious like this, because they would have no money without the tax system. What are they going to do? Arrest everybody? They don't even have the task force to do.
You're absolutely right. The reason they get away with it is because people live in fear. The government is very good at instilling fear. If you don't do what we say, you're all going to die because of climate change or whatever the threat du jour, if you will.
There's many that they've created.
But the message is always the same. This horrible thing is going to happen to you and your children and your children's children if you don't do what we tell you to do.
Yeah.
And not everybody, but most people, hopefully a lot fewer than in the past, take that and they get scared. And when they think about the government's doing terrible things, I have to stand up again. Then they get scared of that. And, in scripture, it actually says so many times, do not fear. And it comes back down to what I said earlier. If you knew you were king, if you knew you were queen, would you be so scared when your public servants, tell you these things? It's a mindset. It's a value system. It's, do you believe in yourself? Do you honestly believe what I said, that you are the ruler?
Yes, of course. I want to talk about integrity and kindness, and that we need to start valuing integrity and kindness and showing people that, who speak the truth. Because instead of, they've been slated so long by mainstream media, calling them conspiracy theorists, crazy people. And I know that that's something that you'd like to address to either people right now.
Yeah, absolutely true. All the problems of the world, in my opinion, could be fixed if we changed our fundamental value systems. Today, and for a long time, the value systems we've lived by are money, position, and power. That's what's most important. Now, if money, position, and power are the most important thing to you, you will do anything for them. You will lie, you will cheat, you will steal, you will kill, because having money, position, and power is more important than the reasons not to do those things. And that's where the problem is. If you look back many, many decades, look back to when you were young, when you had your first, here, take it like this. Okay. You got a family. Okay. They have a teenage daughter. Okay. The daughter has a new boyfriend. Okay. And she wants to bring the boyfriend home to meet her dad and mom. And she brings the boyfriend home. And the first thing the dad says is, what do you do for a living? Now, I understand why. I want my daughter to have a better life than I had, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And sure, it's reasonable to ask what kind of person you are. How do you support yourself? How will you support her? That's great. But the first thing, what do you do for a living? And if the answer is not satisfactory, you're disqualified as a paramour of my daughter. And the message is the most important thing is making money. Now, I'm not going to say it's not important to have money. It's important, but is it the most important thing? I believe, and I live this way, that honesty, telling the truth, acting with integrity is more important. I do a weekly show. At the end of every show, I say, at the end of the day, would you be proud to tell your friends, family, loved ones, children, what you did today? Did you tell the truth? Did you keep your word? Did you honor your agreements? And if not, correct any trespass on your brother or sister and do it now. Don't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow is too late. That's the thing. Honesty, integrity, truth. If we valued those more than money, position, and power, then we would not be bribable. You couldn't give me money to become a liar and a cheat and a killer. And that's true. You could not give me money to do that because I believe that those principles I mentioned are more important than the money. But people are rewarded for taking the attitude of money, position, and power first. We need to start rewarding people, acknowledging them, recognizing them for being honest, for being truthful, for standing firm for what is right and standing against what is wrong or evil. We need to actually start rewarding people, making them feel good for that, because that will encourage them to do that and to spread that to others. It's like planting seeds that will germinate across the world. If we do that, everything else will take care of itself. Everything.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. Brent Johnson, it's been an absolute honor to have you on my show. Thank you very, very much. Would you like to tell the viewers where they can find you, your contacts, and if anything else that you'd like to say?
Yes. Well, first off, contact information is we have a toll-free number. Good in America. I'll give you the other number in case you're out of America. But toll-free number is 888. This is America and Canada. 888-385-FREE. 888-385-3733. If you're outside of America, the international call-in number is country code 1-541-359-2549. And our website is www.freedomradio.us, freedomradio.us. I do a weekly show Tuesday evenings, 8:00 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. And you go to the website, you'll see conference calls, you'll see the information on that. And you can always call and talk to me over there as well. The thing I want to leave you all with is everything we're discussing today. This is real. This is not philosophical. This is not about, a nice discussion about how things could be. We are really in a war between good and evil. That's what's going on. And it's easy to think that evil is winning. I don't believe that. I believe that evil can't win. And here's why. And this will be my closing comment to you, but think about it. Government never knows how to stop. A government that would say, we've got enough regulations and taxes, we're not going to have any more, would probably live forever. But government doesn't know how to do that. Government is always seeking to tax more, meaning take more from the people. They're seeking to regulate more, meaning to encroach on people's liberty more and more. And when they do that, they push people closer and closer to their tolerance lines in the sand. And now what's happening is more and more people are having their line violated. And when that happens, they always push back. So inevitably, we're either going to have a peaceful revolution or we're going to have a violent revolution, but we're going to have a revolution. You need to pick your sides on it and then stand firm. In the meantime, be careful, because we're living in a crazy world and we are at war with the evil.
Well, thank you very much, Brent Johnson. I'm going to leave all your contact details below in the video description so that the viewers can have access and contact information to you. But again, thank you very much, and we'll speak again very soon. You take care and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nicholas. God bless you and all the audience.